Call this meeting to order. We have roll call, please.
Washburn,
Here.
Turner,
Here.
Kinsey,
Here.
Logston.
Here.
Okay. We'll have recognition of visitors. We've got Lynn Martin with the paper, Kelly Parker with the city, and Joe Don Dunham with the city, and
Mr.
I'm Bruce Ingram,
Ingram.
Alva Concrete.
Okay.
Curtis Brown from Garver Engineering.
okay. Okay, on to item 4, consideration and action to approve minutes of the previous meeting.
Move they be approved. I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the meetings. Can we have a vote, please?
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston,
Yes.
Washburn,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Okay, on to number 5, the city council report. Is there anything to report?
I'll just let you guys know, I think we'll probably have the Ward 1 vacancy filled come next council meeting. And once I get all the council seats full, I'm going to look at our composition of council members to get you an appointment for your board. Other city council business, I guess, is just that we've been getting our regular airport board reports, and so the council's been kept up to speed with what's going on, so.
Anything to add, Joe Don?
No, I'll cover some other stuff in some other areas, but
Okay. All right, let's move on to item 6, the manager's report. Greg?
Well, fuel and oil sales remain steady, just a little above average. Total was $14,227.46. About the South Shore Hangar, Blue Sage has completed their work on the trench drain, and the metal ramps have been made. And I was told the metal ramps are in the process of being powder coated. Haven't heard when they will possibly be back.
They're finished. They'll probably get picked up Wednesday.
Is that for both sides or just one side?
Just the east side.
Just the side.
I was waiting to hear from people on the west side as to what their needs might be.
I believe they do one. I've heard from a couple of people.
Okay.
As far as the new T-hanger, Shirley Dozer started their dirt work on the 2nd, and I drove down there today. It looks like they may be done. Most of their equipment is gone except for a road grader.
and the reason it's still there is they built the pad to the site, to the level that Dale and Paul had it marked, which is actually the floor of the concrete. So once we've awarded the concrete bid and gotten with that vendor, Shirley will come back in and scrape. What it's going to look like, it's going to be at least about 5.5 inches off.
And we may need that dirt for the.
Yeah. And that was the deal. You may see some dirt piled up around there, and that's the reason for that, is that if we needed to fill in anywhere, we can use it.
Okay.
Moving on to some maintenance issues, the windsock and the tetraheating lining's been fixed. It was a burnout contact coil and a photo cell had to be replaced on it. I appreciate you letting me know about that. Oklahoma Glass and Wallpapers replaced the 5 windows in the terminal lobby that were leaking water. And I think it makes the lobby look a lot better myself. Those windows were fogged up pretty bad. Also spoke with Ryan from Weiss Electric about the south tappy lights and the north rear lights that have the circuit boards. He told me they're still waiting on the circuit boards to get those replaced, and I've updated the NOTAMs on that. So far, I've been able to replace 2 of the bottom door seals on the South Shore hangar. I still have a couple that need it for sure. And I've also been working on filling in various locations, low spots around the airport with the fill dirt. And then I asked Blue Sage to leave behind. I think I've got about 3/4 of that dirt moved so far. Still got a little bit to go, a little few spots to fill in. And that's all I have.
Okay. Let's move on to item 7, discussion and action on the construction of the concrete slab and foundation and ramps for the new T-hanger project. 7. You guys all have, we looked at these the other day when we opened them. Let me go through these if you want.
Whatever you'd like for me to do, Corey.
Okay.
You can start out and I'll fill in if
Okay.
needed or anything else.
Paul and I went down and talked with Joe Don a little bit after we saw what we opened, and they've got a graph here. Does everybody have the bid prices here? It's a little bit confusing, at least it was to me. But we had asked for 2 different ways. The alternate one was 2 single ramps, which would be one on each side of the building, just concrete all the way across, so there wasn't grass in between to maintain. And then we'd asked for an alternative of a ramp just for each one. We thought if it saved a lot of money, we might be interested in going that route. So most of them, well, I guess all of them priced it 2 ways. And so you have the hanger slab and then also each of the 2 alternative prices and then totals down that left column. So the number 3 and number 4, the Sinoak Services LLC and the A Better View Construction Service, neither one provided us with the, I forget the term, the bond,
Yeah, it is a bid bond. We already get a bid bond from them.
bid bond.
And some other bonding documents. They didn't really submit all the information that was required.
Right.
Does that disqualify them then?
And so it leaves us with the other 2. We'll have to make a decision. We did have, James Lee has done some work for us in the past, us and the city, and he does come a little bit more highly recommended, but he's also a little bit higher priced. Anyway, what do you guys,
Where's D&M out of?
I'm not familiar with them.
I believe that is, I believe they are local, out of Alva. Manuel Gonzalez and Dennis, something I can't remember. He signed in for the bid opening, but I don't remember his last name. The D&M,
D&M's Dan Jennings.
Dan Jennings.
He's out of Cherokee, I think.
Oh, okay. Different.
Okay, then it was different than who I thought it was.
That's what we have.
Or if it's maybe both of them.
Yeah, they didn't, on theirs, there was no contact information
Yeah.
on it, so we weren't really sure who it was.
They really didn't fill out a lot of their bid documentation. They left a lot of it blank. Had to go back to the bid signing sheets to figure out who it was. We did get a bid bond from them.
Oh, and you updated this one?
This was, they reviewed like out of Riccarci.
What about the drawings? I know you,
I did talk to, we will not get engineered signed drawings, but we will get drawings of the
shop drawings
shop drawings for the concrete construction.
from both of them?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But engineered drawings were not requested, shop drawings were.
Okay. questions, recommendations, anything?
I would prefer 2 single ramps.
That's kind of what the consensus was. I mean, just, I guess, just between Paul and I with.
I mean,
Thought,
that,
it's a lot less maintenance.
Yeah, that's a lot less maintenance in the long term.
You
you're
don't
not
have
gonna have the erosion problems that
dirt
we
washing
might
out on the
have.
taxiway.
Yeah. And that set of T-hangers does not have gutters and downspouts.
Right.
So in between, where the ramps would be, if it was multiples, you would have water running off the eave into the dirt and creating,
Yeah.
Splashing.
so.
It'd be a maintenance headache if you had the 8 individual, but we did talk about pricing it
Yeah,
that
we
way,
did.
and it is a $20,000 difference.
I think for $20,000 it'd be a good deal to go ahead and spend. And we discussed something else that's probably relevant here. Even if you took the highest bid on here, which we can't use because they didn't have a bid bond, but we're still looking at coming in under budget, so we're doing well budget-wise there. So
The lowest,
really, if we're looking at the 8 multiple ramps, was kind of a if we had to cut some costs somewhere option, but if not, we wanted to entertain some.
yeah, the lowest bid is only $1,000 difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so which 2 didn't have, the 3 number 3 and 4 didn't have the
That's correct.
deal, okay.
I,
Do you have any questions, Terry?
I just wondered if, just $1,000 difference on D&M's bid kinda makes me wonder
yeah,
if they understood. They should.
we were the same way on the, it looks quite a bit different than what everybody else's was.
Well, does anybody know anything about them?
I don't, that's what I was just getting ready to say. And I hate to spend $30-some thousand more, but I'm familiar with James Lee's work. He's done stuff before and done a good job.
Where's he
I'm
from?
comfortable. He's from here.
Is he from?
He drives a truck around that says Wilson on the side of it.
Pardon me?
Has Wilson on the side of his truck. I see him running around some.
Oh, okay.
But he does really good work.
This is
And the
worse
others
than
may,
doing
I
it.
just don't know them.
Yeah.
But I'm familiar with him.
Yeah,
The only thing that bothers me is the discrepancy in the amounts.
And I was not able to verify anything on, as far as work that D&M Construction had done. If, the responses that I did receive for, who I thought D&M Construction is, which may not necessarily be the case now, some of them were less than favorable. But then again, I've said, the reason I qualify that statement is that based on what Mr. Ingram's just said, it may not be the same person. But based on the bid that I had, I didn't have a lot of information to go on to find anybody, and bid from about the company to go on for information to check on references.
I think personally, I'd like to see the James Lee's alternate 1 is what I would choose. It's the 142,275.
And that's still below budget.
Yeah.
That-
At the 180, this one, we used that one, and we were below budget if we went with that.
If we went with the highest bid, if we went with the $179,000 concrete bid, That would leave us $378,033 remaining. Well, that would be a total of $378,033. We got $455,000 budgeted. All we have left to do is the electrical installation and a little water line. The city's going to do the water line, so the airport will have to buy some parts, some pipe, but that's not going to be very much money. I mean, we're less than $2,000 on that.
I'd move.
One thing we might think about doing in the future is get some references from them. Require a list of references so we can check these guys out.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to
That's-
save the $35,000.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
too. I
that
just don't
typically
feel
that's
comfortable
typically
saying no.
we get references from people putting in this type of bid.
But
On these, we did not.
it's just a shot in the dark if you don't have references or
Well,
anything.
due to this discrepancy in the difference on the two bids, I'd move we go with James Lee. And
Motion.
alternate, is that all one motion or two motion?
All one.
I'd go with the, alternate one.
Okay.
Second it.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to accept James Lee's bid for alternate one. Just to be clear, the one for $142,275, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Turner,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston,
Yes.
Washburn.
Yes. Okay.
I did, as I visited with James, just so you know, he will be able to start. He's available to start this week. There is some things that he would request, of course, and that would be for us to scrape down the pad and restake the corners for the building, for the foundation.
Is that a problem?
The scraping down the pads, obviously not. Dell and Paul did the original staking of the pad site, so it would be up to them if they could. I guess I'm here asking if they could restake the corners for the foundation.
Yeah, it's not a problem going up there and remeasuring.
Yeah.
Can we,
And he needs to make sure it's square.
yeah, can we
Yeah.
get a look at his elevations? To see how he's gonna handle the slope away from the building?
Yep.
Cause there needs to be, especially on the south too, there'll be he's gotta put a slope away from the building and then a slope back up to the taxiway. So there'll be a dip in the first ramp. Want to make sure that he gets that in there proper, so we don't have water problems.
And that was part of it, that they provide us the shop
Okay.
drawings before we get started. So.
Yeah.
Are we going with the anchor bolts or the epoxy and the?
I thought we were gonna just try the anchor bolts and hope we got them right. Epoxy if we had to. Okay.
Say that again, Corey.
When we had talked about whether we wanted to drill an epoxy or whether we wanted to try the anchor bolts, thought we decided we wanted to use the anchor bolts. And
He's gonna try
only
the
if they
anchor
messed
bolts.
them up, we would cut them off and use the epoxy.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard you right. That's what I remember saying, but
Yeah, we'd rather have the anchor bolts if possible.
yeah, just wanted to make sure I heard you right.
Okay. Okay, on to item 8, discussion and action on fiscal year 2017 CIP projects. I believe that you're here to help us with, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and start.
All right. We're beginning of the 2017 federal fiscal year. I was looking at the current CIP shows that there is to be design only for a turf runway this year. And should the airport board decide to go forward with that, we need to get started in some programming and environmental clearances and all that for that work. Last time I was up here, there was a bit of discussion about maybe the board want to take a different direction on that and maybe look at maybe doing a lighting project the following year, doing the turf with either other forces or your own. And so I'm really up here to get clarity on the 5-year capital plan, which projects we need to do, or if the one in front of you really is the direction. If so, then we need to get started on doing some of the FAA coordination side. So before I started that dialogue with the FAA, I wanted to make sure we're appropriately representing the right project.
On the figures that you have here,
Yes,
is that
sir.
if we do this with grant money?
Yes, sir.
That's what that
Yes,
is?
yeah. Yeah, that would be the federal process and bidding it out and having a
So
outside
that's your
contractor.
estimate, 324,000 on the turf runway, or
Yeah.
309, is that your estimate on that?
Yeah, and that is just a programming level. It's our best guess at this time. Naturally, when we lay it out and do some have a good survey and know the volumes, that will adjust, but that's fairly conservative.
So if we opted to, let's say, have the FAA, I guess can we split, can the FAA fund the engineering of it and then we fund the rest of it? Or does the FAA have to do it from start to end?
I need to coordinate that. Normally, if the FAA pays for the design, they tend to want to follow through in doing the construction side as well. They frown upon force account work, meaning like in-kind labor, but if it's like, would you do the design and we'll do the construction without reimbursement, they very well may consider that. I have not had that discussion, so I don't know how to fully answer that.
So if we pull it, if this is something we decided we would do and not bother with FAA funding on it, what kind of red tape is involved in that? Do we still have to do all the studies in that?
Because two-part, if you're going to build the runway and commission it, you can do so without FAA involvement. But then FAA funds can never be used for any maintenance, rehab, restoration, or any improvements associated with that runway. If at any time in the future you want to ask for some federal funds to 10 years from now pave the runway or anything, it would need to go through the whole regulatory process, environmental clearance and forth. Given that land to the west used to be the POW camp, I have a little bit concerns about not doing at least the environmental study on it and getting it all clear. But once that part's done, I really don't see any other issues with that being commissioned in the future by the feds.
There was a commissioned runway
Further to the south,
further to the north.
or
There was one further to the north that was closed back in early 70s.
oh, okay.
But we had an east-west runway.
The runways moved several places.
Yeah, it was actually in line, perfectly in line with Kinsey's south building, where it went east and west, and it was a commissioned runway back then. So,
Yeah, all of that would, in the environmental, like I said, I don't expect, especially since it's been under crop, there be any historical findings or anything there, so I expect the environmental process to be fairly painless, but it is something that would need to go forward. Obviously not any core, not any waters of the United States or any real fish and wildlife habitat. It's more the historical side that we'd get that all clear letter on. And then that would be about the extent of the true administrative hurdles for that to be able to be eligible in the future.
Do you see, based on what the amount you have here, if we were to do this as our project, do you see any cost savings anywhere in your estimates?
On the construction side, absolutely. On the engineering side, that some decisions from the board of whether or not we want to do the programming and design the full FAA way, or if you just want to save some money and kind of build it in a sense your own way, where that may bite in the future or may not. So the design, I don't see a lot of savings if we're going to do it purely the FAA way and dot all those i's, but on construction with your own construction, definitely.
But there's an advisory circular that is out that
Yeah.
educates you on how to construct a turf runway, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's where the specifications come from to go forth, but then the actual construction, like embankment, all that is your standard construction specifications for, but the design guide is more what are the grades, what kind of surface is supposed to be there, how are you supposed to prepare it, because it's not just soil with turf on it, it has to
Have a certain mixture.
plasticity and material, so when it rains, your tires don't get stuck.
The way I read this, even if we went using matching money, or FAA money, our match would only be 40,000 just to let them do the whole thing. Is that correct?
That sounds about right.
So if we do it ourselves without any FAA help, is it gonna cost us 40,000 to do it?
Well, Orion Presidents, you had expressed concern at one point about getting FAA to approve a turf runway, and I had done the letters and the
Yeah.
usage and all that. Now that is dated. I don't know if they're gonna want that current again, but it's hard to go round that up the first time, let alone the second time.
Yeah. I think the statute of limitations on this letter is about 3 years, so I don't believe what you gathered last year is too far
Okay.
out.
And you said the winds indicated a need for that area.
Yeah, the winds show, the letters show, but we have to do a runway justification study and prove to the FAA that you truly warrant it. And then that's part of that design process as well.
Okay.
That again is if federal monies is going to be associated with any aspect of the project, either design or construction.
So that cost is not listed here.
Yeah, that cost is part of the design.
But
design fee.
if they reject it, then the design portion of it will have to come up with on our own.
Yeah, if the FAA rejects it, we wouldn't have completed a design. We would have done just the programming, the justification, and make sure that they said, oh, and probably the environmental, and make sure they get an all clear. Once there's an all clear, then we would start the design. So I don't have the exact split, but maybe half and half is what your exposure would be if the FAA says no.
The FAA says no, we're talking 35 to 40,000 we would be out of pocket.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ken?
I think we really need the runway,
Yeah.
but I really think that $100,000 worth of engineering and expect $342,000 for a grass strip, in my opinion, is absolutely ridiculous.
That's fine, yeah.
But we would only be out of pocket 40,000 if they agree to it. If they reject it, we're still gonna be out 35, and then we'll have to put it in on our own.
You all take it on a contingency,
Can we,
like the lawyers do?
Afraid not.
Well, you stand to do pretty good.
if we were gonna build it ourselves, do we have to have the engineering? I mean, because we could always come back and add that back in later, right? If we pushed the other projects up, then, but I thought we could, if we did it on our own, we didn't need it engineered particularly, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, I don't think we don't need engineering to get it.
If we were gonna have the city.
If you're asking my recommendation, I'd say we'd want engineering. I don't know that it's required.
Okay.
But if we want to go down the road 20 years and decide we want to pave it, then we're gonna have to start at ground zero. So
Mhm.
we'll just be out our expense of grading it
And then if 20 years come around and you haven't done any, if you don't do any of the FAA project, and 21 years from now you want to make it a concrete runway, it's as if it does not exist.
Right.
The turfway's runway as if it does not exist.
And then there's a liability side of it if it's not built to FAA standards. and an accident happens, it opens the board and the city up to possible litigation, because that's what you're paying for, is the insurance.
Yeah.
On the engineering side. Or option two is to approach the runway lighting project as well.
The taxiway lighting?
Taxiway and right now taxiway and runway are on the same circuit. They're both are measuring fairly low.
But we wouldn't be changing the runway lighting, just the
No.
way it's getting powered,
Just the
right?
way it's
And
getting
adding-
powered and then adding taxiway lights in. Yes, sir. Yeah, the runway would become on its own circuit and then the new taxiway lights to replace those that were taken out of service.
Right. It's showing here in 2020, it shows 3 projects,
Yes.
but that doesn't seem to be feasible in 1 year, but
No, it's not. That's,
those are just options.
basically placeholders for the FAA, let them know what is coming up, that there may be need, and to get them thinking about this is where the airport's wanting to go. The last 3 years in the or the first 3 years in the CIP are known funding, and year 5 is kind of where you have funding requests or to start the pipelining of projects with them. So the time we prepared that, like I said, there's a lot of discussion between lighting and turf runway and which one should be priority, so that's why those are there.
Well, the study so far have shown that we have a need for an east-west grass strip. So I'd like to keep that priority above the others.
Me too.
Okay, either way, I mean, personally, I'd go with the lighting, but it's,
Yeah.
I think both are valuable.
Well, I think
The lighting, you know,
we can get along without lighting.
yeah, you always back taxi on the runway. If you have a large airplane, if you have a small airplane, use the second taxiway. And you can,
To me, turf is a safety item.
and then your taxi lights on your airplane will light up the
You know,
taxiway reflectors.
maybe I wasn't clear, I'm not saying we shouldn't have the runway, I was thinking to have them do the lighting. I don't know, I kinda feel like we can do that substantially cheaper, and you say, well, down the road, you'd have to start over. I think you're basically gonna start over either way, if you
Well, I
10
don't-
years from now. And
I don't foresee us ever paving the
I
east-west
don't either.
runway.
No,
I mean, it's,
I don't either.
Because, you know, that's used just,
that's a safety.
yeah, as a safety thing whenever, you know, you get up and you're flying around and the wind shifts,
Yeah,
which
happens.
happens. And there isn't any other east-west runways in the area.
Right. Yeah, I see the need for it, I'm
Yeah.
a little hesitant to do it the FAA way and spend that much on it.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Paul? I get the feeling you disagree.
But we keep pushing it back.
Yeah.
I keep having people hound me that really want
Why do
it,
you,
use it.
I don't,
excuse me,
I don't want to push it back.
me either.
That's what I was just wanting this to self-do it instead of, I hate to spend, what,
$324,000.
yeah, which I understand that's not a lot out of
That's
pocket.
only 40 out of pocket.
Right, I
Yeah,
understand
we're only
that.
spending 39, estimated 39,000.
Right, but you're giving up the entitlement funds that you could spend elsewhere, and I think we could have the entitlement funds to spend on something else and also end up with the grass strip, you know, utilize the money better.
Utilize the money quicker.
I guess that, yeah, that would also be true, yes.
I mean, I have no problem doing it ourselves if we need input from engineering, when we got Garver, we can use as a resource on that, so.
But, yeah, like Paul said, there is a FAA advisory circular gives you
Mhm.
soil compaction and slopes and and everything for that construction.
What about this? What if we had them do the engineering, but then we're gonna self-perform? But it seems like somewhere, like, couldn't we knock that cost down some if we're not actually planning on using the FAA, but we just wanted the engineering done, but not necessarily to the standards the FAA would require? Isn't there some excess in there that would be cut out?
The engineering cost is for the coordination to clear and get the runway basically justified.
But if we're
And-
just doing engineering to do a self-performance,
But yeah, if you
Cost
want us
would
to
be
just say, here's the slopes, here's the materials, and basically a plan and spec for you guys to do, we can do that. And at your direction, it can be not to the full FAA standards, use ODOT standards or whatever for different materials. There's a liability associated with that, and that'd be your direction. But yeah, we can offer some guidance, if that's the direction you wanna go.
But the engineering costs that we're talking about doing would be completely out of our pocket.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Right, which that's what I
Yeah.
was just thinking, and it could end up costing more than the 40.
I think we're stuck.
Yeah, if you wanna self-perform, it'd be best if you just fully self-perform. If we get involved for liability and other, we're gonna kinda basically have it designed to a full standard.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
If we go with the FAA and you'll, will watch the project for us, what kind of time frame are we talking about?
The justification and environmental is about 9 months to get them to buy off on, yes, we'll agree that this project is good. And then the design of the turf runway, probably a month or two after that to get the actual design done. So you're looking at almost a year for us to be able to turn plans over to you that have been cleared by the FAA, but most of that is gonna be a coordination process.
So if we started now, we should have it a year from now.
Yes,
Just the design day.
just the,
Right.
yeah,
Then
just
we've
the
gotta go out
design.
for bids, find somebody that will do
Okay,
dirt
so-
construction work.
If we started now, it'd be next summer before, or next fall before it was complete.
Yeah,
Before we
either
started.
fall or spring,
Before you
depending.
start
Before we started,
It'd be a year before you start construction.
it'd be a year before we had the plans to start bidding the construction.
It'd probably be 18 months before it's done.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, sorry.
Cause you gotta get the grass growing and the trees blowing and birds,
Bees have to follow me.
Is there anything that says that we can't go out here and build it? I mean, is there any, because it's on an active airport, is there anything that we have to, once it's built, we have to go back to FAA and say? I mean, if we self-build, is there?
If you self-build, the commissioning process would be the most difficult part, but no, I mean, people build grass strips and,
But where you're crossing an active runway with the safety zone, is that kind of gonna present an
no, actually, the way it's laid out in the airport layout plan, the safety zone doesn't, the safety area does not cross your active runway. It's offset to the west enough, the turf runway ends, that it doesn't cross. When people land on the turf, they basically have to taxi down the safety area to hit the paved runway to come
Okay.
to land. But yeah, the FAA will not,
Wouldn't allow
not
it.
support crossing runways, that includes crossing runway. Now, safety area can cross safety area, but safety area cannot cross runway.
Okay.
We commissioned an airport down at the farm, and
Now that's
filling out
what,
paperwork, sending it in.
that's, seems like the way to go to me, but
Yeah.
And all we did to make the runway down there is grass it and blade it a little bit. And it's on the charts.
Yeah.
was an approved, FAA approved runway.
That's what I thought. I knew you did. Max has done it
Yeah.
a couple times.
When they
What
did
about
the
our insurance?
environmental for the,
If we go to ourselves and
New
talk about
runway,
the
that
liability, do you think it would cover
doesn't count the turf runway.
the airport?
No, because it was
Stuff, I mean, as far as it was self.
basically doing environmental for a different area. of
Depends on the
disturbed
standards
property.
that you construct it
So
to.
they didn't
If
clear.
you're constructing
When
it
that was done,
to
they
a
didn't clear what was to
standard,
the west.
then I think insurance is gonna cover it should anything happen. If you just go out there and say, well, yeah, I think that's about right, then there's an accident, I think there's some liability on our end.
So if we use the advisory circular for guidance,
Yeah.
then you got the standard.
That's already a FAA accepted standard.
How, I'm assuming you've read that circular?
A long time ago.
Is
It's
it,
much thinner than the one they used to build this runway.
is it extremely involved, or is it, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is, are we gonna end up spending a small fortune still just to build it to that standard, even if we
I
self-perform?
think it's the soil. I mean, if you get the right soil in and you compact it right, and you have the right slopes, then I think that's your, and it's whoever you get to do the dirt work.
Okay,
I think that's the key.
and we're gonna
Lot
have to
of
test
it's
and see what we
drainage.
have there.
Yeah, a lot of it's drainage, it was, the water to drain off the runway.
Okay,
But we didn't have that drainage on our last grass strip. It did not meet the standards.
okay.
It was below wheat field level.
Yeah, when you'd have a hard rain, water would stand on the runway.
Yeah, I remember landing and splashing water on that thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to get back off again, too.
Yeah, I dug some ruts.
So we're making progress either way.
I have no problem with not building.
Right, you know.
I have no problem seconding it.
Okay. Okay, so that leaves us then, what do we push forward?
Then my action will be I'll remove that basically from the CIP, and then do we want to use NPE funds to do taxiway lighting or a different project?
With the,
754, we're gonna have to,
Yeah, it'd be basically move it to 2018,
Mhm.
19 timeframe for a lighting project to have sufficient bank funds.
I'm assuming there's design work there also. I mean, are you able to do that this year and then the project next year, or is it all just gonna
We
be?
could do the airfield design in 1 year and then the construction the following, yes.
So we have that, we have the apron around the south T hangers, and we have a new apron out in front of the terminal building, right?
Right, basically connecting the terminal building apron to the new parallel taxiway, so people don't have to pass and come back.
Is there any advantage to combining that design work?
The two, there is, but there's a 3-year statute of limitations from
Oh.
the time that FAA pays for a design to where it needs to be implemented, and
Okay.
so I think
We wouldn't have the
it'd end
funds.
up having to get dusted off and not necessarily redesigned, but touched again.
Reapproved.
So no.
Okay.
What do you think, Karen?
Whatever you want. We need the runway. I hate to.
I'd like to see us move forward on the runway ourselves and have Garver push these other projects
Yeah.
up.
I think, personally, I like the idea of the taxiway and apron construction above the
Lighting.
lighting.
I was kind of thinking some of that too.
We have jets and little airplanes really close together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ramp to the north, west of the round top, there's some, and even the concrete down here in front of the maintenance hangar is really bad.
Yeah.
We've got coming out of the north T hangars, if you're in a Piper Cherokee and your strut is flat and you go to taxi out, you will come within so far of hitting the asphalt.
Thanks.
I mean, there's a step where it comes off the concrete and they build up the asphalt. And it's just,
So much.
You had that listed as what, 1.5 million? to do all that?
Yes, and if it's just MPE, it would need to be done in like 2 phases, which it could be broken up into banked MPE funds, but we would design it all so it's coordinated and then implement the first phase, bank for a couple of years.
Well, I think after the turf runway, for me, the next safety issue is having adequate taxing and apron space, particularly since we're still getting an awful lot of jets in here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
That one that says 17, isn't that the one you're talking about? That, I don't know.
I was looking down here at 2020 or whatever, but
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
3
number
projects have a
17.
different number in front of them.
The one, the number on the
The
far
middle one.
left,
Yeah.
where it says ODO 17
that one,
is the
I'm sorry,
project.
I was trying to figure out what number he's talking about.
Sorry.
I was like, well, where's that number?
Yeah.
Okay, yes,
That's
17,
East Road.
Yeah, that's 17.
thank you,
So if we bring 17 to the highest priority now,
because there's,
and we're just removing the turf runway out of the CIP,
Mhm.
and then jumping that one over the parallel taxiway lighting, right?
Yeah, and we'll just move the lighting and the south apron to year 2021 in the CIP, and move the apron expansion up to be honest, most likely it'll be 18 and 19, I think,
Yeah.
for bank funds.
do you need a motion on that? Or is that just something
Yeah.
you?
Probably just with that direction, yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, I guess.
I make a motion that we move the number 17 taxiway and apron geometry to the top of the CIP list, followed by the parallel taxiway lighting and reconstruction of the south apron.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston,
Yes.
Washburn,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes,
Okay, on to item 9, remarks and inquiries by airport board members. Do we have anything?
One of the local patrons said the toilets weren't working right. Has anything been addressed there? That they weren't flushing? And they've been backing up?
No, I didn't need back up.
Okay,
In the terminal?
in the terminal, yeah. Just,
I think that was, the city had a problem with their water pressure,
okay, well,
and I don't think there was enough pressure here for,
okay,
I was told about that too.
okay. I'm just inquiring.
Anybody else?
I've had some comments on the weekend help.
I have to.
You have to, so you're aware. Okay.
Negative comments?
Yes.
I haven't had any contact with them.
I've heard the same comments and
Not here and not,
That might explain why I haven't had any contact.
well, they're here, but then they put up the sign.
Oh,
And then also there's trash and housekeeping things that could be done,
not
and there's
performing
not
the
being
duties.
accomplished.
okay.
I've heard from a few people in the south hangars that said that from what rains we have gotten since we finished the drains, that it has eliminated a lot of water out of the hangars.
Good.
There may be some roof leakage we need to address, but
That's what Greg
Yeah,
said.
there's
It's
some rough,
fairly
there's a
minimal.
little rough leakage, but there wasn't mine. We need one good rain, then we'll check it again.
Yeah, I think we're headed the right direction anyway. Okay, we'll move on to item 10, remarks and inquiries by citizens. Anybody have anything?
You got a couple of color palettes there. If y'all would mind choosing the color you'd like for your for the new hanger, so I can let them know, or do you want to leave that up to us as management and us choose common color on the on what we've been doing around in the.
I'm assuming they're wanting us off the lower price one on the top.
I don't know that there's a cost difference.
Okay.
These are the pallets that they sent me.
tan, something.
Generally, reds are most expensive.
That's what
Yeah,
I mean, I think I'd just do white or tan or something to get hot, but
Can't we have murals?
talk to the right person, we can.
it depends, you know, do we wanna go all monotone over the whole airport, or do we wanna differentiate and a little bit of color here and there?
If I
It's
could,
sure easy sometimes to say, go down there to the green building rather than they're all brown. Yeah, go to the 5th brown building.
Looks numbers on it. Looks
Yeah, I mean, I think there'd be some.
Each has a different
Yeah.
color.
I don't know if it's of interest to the board, but I do know that with the wayfinding signage projects that are going in, something that matched that palette might be
Maybe,
consistent with the rest of town.
maybe like the light stone or something.
Well, the two new buildings down there are in the tannish brownish area, right?
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking,
So
the light
something in
stone
that
was
family.
closest to them.
You fine with me?
I was thinking, don't they have a different colored roof?
White,
Yeah, most of
Is
them
it a
have
white
galvanized
roof?
roof.
Yes.
Most of them are just galvanized, it looks white.
Well, I guess I've got two different color palettes, two different projects with colors that I'm going with, and I may be thinking about the rec park.
You know, it's kind of fade over time too, so you know, desert sand, it would fade in a few years down.
Yeah.
A saddle tan or a light stone. So
I'd either go with light stone or almond. I was
I'm the same way.
Oh,
on
almond.
the next squares down.
Either of those are fine with me. Is that,
Light
Billy,
stone
does
or
that
almond?
fit in? That one or
Wait,
that
I
one?
mean, if they, that way you have one from each palette.
Is that in tone with the signage?
I like
Yeah, probably, hold on, let me see if I can pull it.
Yeah, they're
saddle
brown and tan, seems like they got some.
Yeah, they're kind of a tan color,
Because
they're darker brown.
Tan, right?
The
Yeah.
Woods County building is almond and white on the top.
Okay.
The water, oh, the one you're in.
Those are gonna be close, yeah, the almond or the.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments? If not, us. You guys done?
So
Lynn,
you
have any-
know what color to do the building then?
Yeah, I
Either
started
light
watching
stone
it.
or almond.
We gave you a choice.
Yeah.
Surprise us.
I'll start out by asking them which is the most expensive, and that's one we'll
That's what we
go.
want.
Because we've already got the price figured in.
Well, in the summer, the lighter colors will keep staying
Yeah,
inside cooler.
yeah. Okay, well, if nobody has anything further, we'll move to item 11 and adjourn the meeting.